What if the world isn't getting worse, but our perception of it is? Factfulness by Hans Rosling challenges the deeply rooted misconceptions we have about the state of the world. Rather than promoting blind optimism, the book advocates for a fact-based worldview, one grounded in data instead of fear. Rosling begins by showing that people across countries, professions, and education levels consistently answer basic questions about global trends incorrectly. The reason, he argues, is not ignorance, but instinctive cognitive biases, the 10 instincts that distort our view. Rosling identifies 10 instincts that skew our understanding. Gap instinct, dividing the world into rich and poor. Negativity instinct, overweighting bad news. Straight line instinct, assuming trends continue linearly. Fear instinct, exaggerating risks. Size instinct, misinterpreting numbers without context. Generalization instinct, drawing broad conclusions from small samples. Destiny instinct, believing cultures never change. Single perspective instinct, relying on one solution. Blame instinct, seeking villains instead of systems. Urgency instinct, acting hastily under perceived crisis. These instincts once helped us survive, but now mislead us. What the data actually shows, Rosling presents a different picture of the world. Extreme poverty has declined dramatically. Life expectancy and education have improved globally. Child mortality rates are at historic lows. Most people live in middle-income conditions. The issue isn't reality, it's our outdated mental models. Informed optimism. Rosling rejects naive optimism. He promotes fact-based hope, acknowledging problems while recognizing progress. Clear thinking comes from data, not panic. Practicing factfulness. The book encourages readers to adopt better questions. Is this always true? Compared to what? What do recent numbers show? Am I letting fear guide my judgment? Factfulness is not about knowing more facts. It's about thinking more clearly. The book's message is simple. The world is better than we think. Our instincts mislead us, and humility toward facts leads to wiser decisions. Next, we'll explore how fact-based thinking can improve decision-making in media, investing, and public policy.
Do you ever get that feeling, that nagging sense that the world is just getting worse? Well, what if I told you that feeling is mostly wrong? And not just wrong, but systematically wrong. Today, we're going to dig into the book Factfulness. It's all about why our brains get the big picture so wrong and how we can start to see things a little more clearly.
All right, I want to start by asking you a question. This is one that Hans Rosling, the author of Factfulness, used to ask audiences all over the world. Just take a look. In the last 20 years, the proportion of the world's population living in extreme poverty has what? Really think about it for a second. What's your gut reaction?
Okay, so here are your options. Do you think it has A, almost doubled, B, stayed more or less the same, or C, almost halved? Go on, lock in your answer.
And the correct answer, drumroll please, is C. It's almost halved. Now hey, if you got that wrong, don't feel bad. At all. You are in very good company. I mean, think about that. The progress has been absolutely incredible. And yet, here's the crazy part. Study after study shows that almost everyone gets this wrong. We're talking students, journalists, politicians, even Nobel laureates. So, what's going on here? Why are we all so programmed to get this wrong? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
Okay, so Hans Rosling's big idea is that our brains are basically running on outdated software. You know, it's buggy. And these bugs, he calls them dramatic instincts, and they totally distort how we see the world. And the first one we need to talk about, maybe the biggest one of all, is something he calls the gap instinct.
So what is it? Well, it's that powerful, instinctive urge to divide everything into two neat little boxes. You know, us versus them, good versus bad, rich versus poor. It's a mental shortcut, right? And it makes the world feel simple. But it's also deeply, deeply misleading. It paints this picture of two separate camps with this giant, uncrossable chasm in between. And the classic example, the one we all use, developed countries over here and developing countries way over there.
This really shows the problem perfectly. For decades, we've been taught to see the world in these two boxes. But the data, the actual facts, they show a totally different story. The reality is a continuum. So to help us get our heads around this, Rosling came up with a much better model. 4 simple income levels.
And this model just builds a way more accurate picture of the world. So yes, there are about 1 billion people on level 1, living in extreme poverty. That's absolutely true. But look at levels 2 and 3.
That's where the vast majority of humanity lives today. 5 billion people. So that huge gap we imagine between the rich and the poor, it turns out that's where most of us actually are.
Okay, so getting past the gap instinct is a huge first step. But Rosling found 9 other instincts that mess with our worldview too. And they all kind of team up on us, creating this super dramatic and usually pretty negative picture of how things are going.
For example, there's the negativity instinct, right? It's why every single plane crash makes the news, but the thousands of planes that land safely every single day, we never hear about them. Then there's the straight line instinct. That's where we see a trend and just assume it's going to continue in a straight line forever, like world population just exploding off the chart. You've also got the blame instinct, that need to point a finger at a single bad guy when something goes wrong. And, of course, the fear instinct, which makes our brains fixate on scary but rare dangers while we ignore much more common risks.
Okay, so this is a really powerful, data-driven case for human progress, right? It feels good, but is it the whole story? Because some critics have raised a really important question here. Is the whole factfulness idea, well, is it dangerously optimistic? Is it only telling one side of the story?
This quote from a critique by the Overpopulation Project puts it pretty bluntly. The worry here is that, yeah, the facts Rosling presents are true, but are they cherry-picked? Are they selected to paint an overly rosy picture and make us all feel a little too comfortable?
So here's the core of the argument. Things like poverty, child mortality, and life expectancy, they are absolutely getting better. No one denies that. But critics argue that focusing only on human well-being can make us blind to other massive problems. The biggest one, the health of our planet.
Let's use protected nature as a perfect example of this. It is a fact that the amount of protected land and sea on Earth has gone from basically zero in 1900 to about 15% today. Now, someone reading Factfulness might look at that and say, wow, what incredible progress. But a critic looks at the exact same data and says, wait a minute, that means 85% of nature is unprotected. You see, it's the same fact, but it leads to 2 completely different and much more urgent conclusions.
And that's the real point here. The argument is that you just can't separate the amazing story of human progress from its environmental cost. Because as billions of people move out of poverty and up those income levels we talked about, our consumption of resources and energy goes way up too. And that puts a huge strain on our ecosystems, fuels climate change, and drives species to extinction.
So, where does that leave us? How do we hold both of these truths in our head at the same time? You've got the clear data on human progress, and you've got these urgent warnings about the planet. Well, this is where the real power of a fact-based worldview kicks in. It's not about being an optimist or pessimist. It's not about choosing a side.
You see, our dramatic instincts, those mental shortcuts, they want us to make a simple choice. Things are good or things are bad. Pick one. But a truly fact-based view embraces the messiness, the nuance. It allows you to hold 2 ideas in your head that seem like they contradict each other. It's the idea that things can be both bad and getting better. For example, the state of our oceans can be bad, and the number of girls getting an education can be getting better. Both can be true at the exact same time.
And that brings us right to the core of it all. Factfulness is not about being an optimist. It's a habit. It's the stress-free practice of only holding opinions that you have strong facts for. It means recognizing that the world is complex, and it means fighting that urge to believe the simple story, whether it's a story of doom and gloom or a story of total triumph.
So at the end of the day, this isn't about becoming an optimist or a pessimist. It's really just about becoming more aware of our own mental programming. So I'll leave you with this question. After hearing all this, what's one thing, just one, about the world that you're going to try and see a little more factfully from now on?